This past week was a big one in the wide world of reality competition shows. The third season of The Challenge All-Stars aired its finale. Network shows like Big Brother and The Challenge USA premiered back-to-back on CBS. There was a new episode of RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars All Winners, but somehow the thing I was most looking forward to was the next installment of All-Star Shore. And that's what we're talking about today. I'm Lizzie Frizzle, and this is the Recap Corner. Like I said, today we're talking about All-Star Shore Season 1, Episode 3, called It Must Have Been the Massage, which is such a strange title because I always thought it must be the money. This episode picks up right where episode 2 left off. It's late into the night, and Joey is preparing to tell Marina that despite all the things he's said and done, like cuddling with her and saying, "I'm into you," he's not actually into her. Specifically, Joey says he doesn't want Marina to think something romantic might happen between them in case it doesn't happen. Marina does the only thing one can do in a situation like this. She takes the news really well, really stoically to Joey's face, then immediately retreats to her room to cry in solitude and secrecy. Soon after, Bethan and Johnny arrive to comfort Marina. Johnny offers her hard-to-hear but honest advice about the way Joey treats women.
You told me what he said to you, and I said he has a responsibility to be clear with you and to be transparent about the way he really feels. He's a flirt, right? He's very misleading because he wants to make everyone feel good.
In the moment, it's a really sweet scene, but it becomes kind of silly in retrospect after seeing what Johnny does at the end of the episode. Bethan, on the other hand, delivers a great speech about girl power that so far has only gotten better with age.
Baby girl, he has not even made you come. How are you going to be going on like this if he hasn't even made you fucking come? I bet he couldn't even find the fucking bean if he wanted to. Come on, we're not fucking crying over men like this no more.
Elsewhere, Joey vents to Angelina about Marina misreading their mutual massages from episode 1. Because when someone sits on your bare ass, then covers you in lotion and massages you, it can mean so many things. In the morning, Chloe and Potro return from their stinky fishing boat excursion and put fear into the rest of the cast about the harsh realities of exile. You can tell that most of the cast didn't think exile was actually going to be a big deal because a bunch of them asked Chloe and Potro if they hooked up while they were there, just like out of boredom. And I don't think that would be the case if they'd seen the conditions of the fishing boat that Chloe and Potro had to stay on. Chloe, of course, explains just how bad those conditions were in the funniest way possible.
What was the worst experience? I rather got cheated on.
Earlier, Chloe said that instead of exile, she'd rather have a cactus shoved so far up her ass it came out her mouth. So now we just need to know which she'd rather have happen between the cheating or the cactus thing. And then we'll know that. Potro also tells the cast about the secret footage he and Chloe saw of Joey talking shit about Potro. And of the entire exile experience, it's that footage that Potro seems most affected by. Joey downplays what he said about Potro, even though he knows Potro saw a video of it. Joey also says that Potro's had a vendetta against him since the beginning. If he does, it could be because Joey keeps calling him Petro. Next, the episode abruptly shifts into a very confusing argument, but it gets Vanjie a lot of screen time, so I'm not complaining. First, Vanjie accuses Joey of blaming the Potro shit-talking on Vanjie. Then we transition into Vanjie being annoyed that Joey says one thing about Potro behind his back and is now offering an edited, vaguer version of those comments to Potro's face. Again, even though Joey knows that Potro's already seen video footage of whatever he said. Next, Angelina interjects because she's Joey's partner and because she can't help herself. As a result, the argument shifts again. Now, Vanjie's annoyed with Angelina and calls her out for doing the same thing as Joey, saying one thing behind someone's back, then acting another way to them in person. Only when it comes to Angelina, that person is Gigi. In response, Angelina calls Gigi to her face and the faces of the entire rest of the cast a dirtbag, a grimy-ass bitch, a stuck-up bitch, and Angelina also says that Gigi thinks she knows who the fuck she is, which I think is maybe another insult about Gigi being stuck up. The best part is that right after Gigi calls Angelina a bully, and then Angelina responds, "How am I a bully?" At the end of the argument, Angelina calls the entire cast unappreciative because without Jersey Shore, the show that she originally quit about 3 days into filming, there would be no All-Star Shore. I think Angelina might think she's Sally Ann Salsano. Nothing like a Paradise game to break the tension of a complicated, multi-layered argument. The cast receives a clue about the next game before heading to Paradise Beach. It reads, "Who's ready to pop some bottles?" At the beach, the cast is greeted by a massive slide. The slide has 2 big columns, one on each side, and on top of those columns are bottles of gold-wrapped champagne. In front of the slide on the ground, there are cocktail tables with giant champagne glasses on top of them. The Paradise reward for the winning pair is the chance to drive themselves in exotic sports cars to a local vineyard for a wine tasting. Like last Paradise reward, the winners will pick one additional team to join them. The Paradise game is called Poppin' Bottles. To play, one teammate climbs a ladder on the back of the slide, grabs a wrapped champagne bottle, then slides down to meet their partner at one of the cocktail tables, where they're waiting with the giant champagne glass. The teammate with the bottle opens it, then sprays champagne onto their teammate's chest. Holding the giant champagne glass basically at their crotch, the sprayed-on partner collects champagne as it runs down their body. Whatever amount of champagne they're able to collect in the glass is then transferred into a large container with a cork inside. Teams repeat this process until they've collected enough champagne to retrieve the cork from inside the container. I assumed that was going to be the end of the challenge, but there's actually like 3 more steps. Next, teams stack 6 empty champagne bottles into a pyramid. Then they stick the cork inside the top champagne bottle. Then they stick a sparkler inside the cork and light it. first pair to light their sparkler wins the Paradise game. The last team to finish, or the slowest team, goes straight into the exile game. I watch a lot of reality competition shows. It's probably my favorite genre of TV. And all of the high heights things, all the jumping off things, the rappelling down things, they all look really fun to me. But this game, this looked terrifying. I don't like opening champagne bottles. I like champagne, but on the rare occasion I buy some to drink, I go in another room and close the door while someone else opens the bottle. So if I were in this cast and had to play this game, there's like 100% chance that I would be personally responsible for my team placing last and going straight into the exile game. After the rule explanation, right before the Paradise game is about to begin, Karime has an anxiety attack, seemingly brought on by the looming competition. Fortunately, she has Gigi and Potro there with her to comfort her, to speak Spanish with her, and just to support her until she feels comfortable and ready to compete. The anxiety attack is an extension of a storyline that was introduced earlier. In the beginning of the episode, Karime explained that the competition aspect of the show is causing her stress. Something I didn't mention earlier because I decided to mention it now instead. I was really impressed by Karime in this scene, by her ability to rally for herself and quickly turn it around to the point where she actually wanted to compete. I get anxiety attacks too sometimes. I just had one last week. And it can take me a really long time to shake them off. So for her to be in a situation where she's away from home, surrounded by mostly strangers, and she's constantly being filmed, I just thought it was like superhuman that Karime was able to press onward that quickly. Once everyone's feeling better and the Paradise game begins, there's a lot of fun to be had. The giant slide is a really effective spectacle. Pauly D compares different champagne spraying techniques to something I'm not sure I'm allowed to say on YouTube.
Look at these techniques we've got. The I promise this never happens, the two-pump chump, and everyone's favorite, the money shot.
I did wonder if people's bathing suits gave them an advantage or disadvantage in the game. The men are all getting champagne sprayed onto their bare chests, while the women get champagne sprayed onto at least part of a bathing suit. But I have no idea what I'm talking about. The biggest storyline to come out of this Paradise game is that Angelina and Joey are sent straight into the exile game after they're disqualified for cheating. Instead of spraying Angelina with the champagne, Joey gets caught just pouring champagne straight into her glass. After they're disqualified, Joey attempts to explain his cheating, but it takes a weird turn.
I did pour it in a little bit, but it's what I thought that was still.
I'm sick and tired
I didn't
of hairy
realise that was
balls.
against the
I
rules.
can't do it no more. When men have like hairy fucking balls, I'm done.
Who's talking about hairy? Why are you talking about hairy balls?
With the last place team already determined, everyone turns their attention to winning. Via his voiceover, Pauly D tells us that the three teams currently vying for the lead are Bethan and Marina, Trina and Johnny, and Ricardo and Vanjie. Back at the slide, Karime lands horizontally and accidentally shifts into Chloe's path as she's sliding down. Karime's back collides with Chloe's leg. The result is that Chloe's leg swells and she has to get taken to the hospital in an ambulance. We saw footage of Chloe hurting her leg and of the ambulance in the trailer for this episode, but it was honestly a little worse than I expected, and I felt really badly for Chloe because she couldn't communicate with any of the medical staff. Like, they were speaking Spanish and she was speaking English. And I imagine it's really scary to go to a hospital where no one's speaking the same language as you. With Chloe on her way to the hospital, the game resumes. Paulie tells us that Bethan and Marina and Trina and Johnny have both lost their chance at the win. Ricardo and Vanjie are still in a good place, and their new challengers are Blake and James. It's neck and neck. Both teams think they need one more bottle of champagne in order to retrieve their corks. That is, until Vanjie summons the spirit of fisting and gets the job done.
My intuition said you can do it. I see it on Twitter, fisting. Everyone's into fisting, and my fingers went in there.
After, when Ricardo is struggling to light their sparkler, Vanjie takes control once again.
Get me.
Vanjie and Ricardo win! In addition to the Paradise reward, they also add 30 points to their shore score. Blake and James come in second place. They add 20 points to their shore score. As the other teams inch toward finishing, there's a funny moment where Marina, after very impressively grabbing the cork out of her and Bethan's container, forgets that they still need the cork and just tosses it aside into the sand. Fortunately, she and Bethan quickly find it and are able to finish the game in third place, adding 10 points to their shore score. At this point, Trina and Johnny and Gigi and Karime stop playing because there are no points awarded after third place. But Trina and Johnny were like 1 or 2 champagne bottles away from finishing, and Gigi and Karime were so far behind. If Angelina and Joey hadn't cheated and if Chloe hadn't gotten hurt, then they'd have to be heading into the exile game. At the end of the Paradise game, the new shore scores are Angelina and Joey, James and Blake, and Ricardo and Vanjie all have 40 points. Then Bethan and Marina have 20 points. Gigi and Karime and Trina and Johnny each have 10 points. And poor Chloe and Potro have 0 points. After the Paradise game, Chloe returns to the shore villa from the hospital with crutches and a knee wrap, but we get no information about her ability to remain in the competition. However, we do get a very funny recap about her bad day.
What a fucking day. You're not going to believe this.
How you feeling? Welcome back, Chloe.
How are you?
Have a sit over here.
I've got such bad luck. I've had the worst 24 hours of my life. I've been stuck in a fishy boat. I stink of kipper. I literally got stretched out in front of everyone, looking like fucking Tutankhamun. Like that. Like that.
To forget about her awful streak of bad luck, first the stinky fishing boat exile, now the hospital, Chloe wants to hit the club. Everyone dresses accordingly, and Joey dresses in Men in Black cosplay. While the cast gets dressed, Bethan and Karime decide to stay in at the villa. Karime, it seems, just needs a general recharge. We don't get a lot of specifics. But in Bethan's case, she's run down from drinking and is also experiencing negative breathing effects from having never been around air conditioning before. Once Johnny learns that Bethan is staying in, he immediately gets a bad feeling like he's gonna get into some drama at the club. I wonder why. One eggy bus ride later,
Stinks. It absolutely stinks.
Smells like egg in here.
Who farted?
the cast arrives at the club. At first, everyone gets along. Chloe and Vanjie make great use of Chloe's crutches. People are drinking and dancing. Of those people are Trina and Johnny, who dance like friends. Friends who dance like this.
And Trina starts dancing with Johnny and shook her hands in hand. And he's liking it, okay? He's not like, oh, don't dance with me. No, he's liking it.
Intercut with this Trina Johnny dancing footage is footage of Bethan deciding that she wants to go to the club after all. Maybe she felt better. Maybe a producer talked her into going after hearing about what Trina and Johnny were up to. Before Bethan leaves, there's a moment I love where she asks Karime if she should wear hoop earrings or a necklace. Karime says wear the necklace, then Bethan shows up at the club in hoop earrings. As Bethan walks into the club, Johnny literally exclaims, "Bethan's coming!" Then he ditches Trina so fast, and he sweeps up Bethan into his arms, and he's spinning her around. But it's only a matter of time before Trina tells Bethan that she and Johnny danced as friends, so Bethan can hear it from her before she hears it from anyone else. But as Bethan will later point out, if it was just friendly dancing, why would anyone need to tell her about it? Confronted by multiple castmates, Johnny doubles down on the friendly dancing defense. Because why would he betray Bethan in front of everyone? This is the scene I was talking about when I said that in retrospect, Johnny's advice to Marina is kind of silly. Watching him double then triple down on this friendly dancing defense pokes a lot of holes in the honest player persona he'd been putting forth so far. Later, Trina and Johnny have a wholly unproductive conversation about why Trina is continuously attempting to sabotage his showmance with Bethan, while Joey and Vanjie have an equally unproductive conversation. A drunken Joey attempts to smooth things over with Vanjie. It's going okay until Angelina can't help but intervene again. It doesn't lead to any drama or big argument like earlier, but it does lead to more Vanjie screen time. On the bus ride home, the place where all reality TV dreams are born, James chimes in for what feels like the first time all episode to float the idea that Trina has a crush on Johnny. Now, I have never seen an episode of Love Island. I don't know what Trina and Johnny's real life relationship is like, but I do know that the editors of All Star Shore are absolutely working to paint Trina as liking Johnny. In the series premiere, she started the rumor that Bethan isn't Johnny's type. Then she told Bethan that Johnny only looks for a good time, not a long time. She's dancing with him at the club, and maybe most damning of all is her reaction in the club when Bethan arrives unexpectedly. Is it possible that Trina was reacting to a totally unrelated thing in that moment? Yes. Is it likely? Probably. But all that really matters is that the editors used that reaction to contribute to the narrative that Trina is jealous of Bethan and Johnny. Back at the Shore Villa, Trina and Vanjie argue about Trina's intentions with Johnny. Pretty much the entire cast sides with Vanjie, especially Potro, who's very taken with Vanjie's willingness to call out both men and women.
Vanjie has the courage to confront guys and girls.
It is what it is. That's on y'all. Y'all can do what you want to do with it.
Like, he's perfect.
As Trina and Vanjie's argument fizzles out, Johnny revs up for an argument with Trina all his own. And that is where the episode leaves off. In the next episode's trailer, it looks like Bethan may quit the show over the drama between herself, Trina, and Johnny. But I don't actually think she's going to do that. At least I hope she doesn't actually do that. We also see a brief moment of the upcoming Exile game featuring Joey and Angelina flipping a dumpster. Then we see a moment of the subsequent Exile location, which is a beach shack that frankly looks a lot more palatable than Chloe and Potro's stinky fishing boat. And finally, the cast treats themselves to a good old-fashioned American barbecue, complete with lighting the grill on fire. Thanks for watching. You can come back next Tuesday for another All-Star Shore recap. Or if you like to read, you can go to dvrzar.com, where I'm posting weekly write-ups about the Challenge USA. And if you're so inclined, please like and subscribe. Thanks again. Bye.
DJ, stop the music. DJ, stop the motherfucking music.
What is that? Is that Benji?
I'm not joking, bitch. I'm gonna need everybody to be twerkulating, gyrating. If y'all motherfuckers ain't dancing, you gotta be.